Mike Pendleton here with MyMMAnews.com, and super excited to talk to my next guest because they're back. She's back. The events are back. They're on a brand new network, and MMA as a whole sport is better when Shannon Knapp and Invicta FC have events going on, and they are now going to be live on CBS Sports Network. First and foremost, this is our first ever interview, Shannon. Thank you for giving me the time. How are you?
Oh, I'm doing well, and thank you for having me. And
Absolutely. Now, groundbreaking move over to CBS Sports. How did that all come together, and what was kind of your reaction as that was all coming about?
I'm always excited when it's something that's going to be exciting for the athletes. So, and it's we've been working on this behind the scenes, and sometimes it's really tough to keep things quiet. But I will tell you this: the one thing that I feel like incredibly blessed about and with here at Invicta is the trust that the athletes put in me. So I couldn't tell them where we're going, what we're doing, and what is happening, but I'm just like, trust me that you will be excited when we're able to announce this. So it was great. It was just great to be able to work on something that I know is going to be valuable and important, not only to the health of Invicta, but exciting for the athletes.
Absolutely. I mean, more exposure. Who doesn't love more exposure? And CBS Sports will obviously provide that on such a well-known, broadcast company like CBS Sports. To that point, just talking about trust and all that you've done throughout the years, how, if more than anything, how important is it to have that trust, not just of the fighters and I'm got to make sure I'm getting paid. I got to do that. I got to make sure I'm getting the right fights. Like, I don't think anyone truly understands all that you put into every single day. And I know you've got a team around you, but when you have to find the right fights, not only for the fighters, but for the fans, you've got to find the venues, the dates, all of that. How important is trust within your company?
I think it's very important, whether it's, but it spreads out evenly across the promotion. The athletes have to be able to trust the people that work for Invicta as well, not just me, but when you're doing business, I think doing good business is, doing trustful business, let's call it, and establishing a relationship that both parties can depend on the other and what their word is. So yeah, I feel like it's really important. And I think one of the things that I've tried to work on in building that trust is letting the athletes know that I care what happens to them. When I'm looking at a matchup, looking at what's the next step, that I'm always thinking about not just the promotion, but I'm thinking about their health and welfare as well, and careers at the end of the day.
We were talking off camera before the interview started about just empowering. And, you don't just do that by saying, here's a fight contract, best of luck. I'll take care of the rest, right? Giving these women the opportunity to either start their career, thrive at a certain stage in their career, or use Invicta as a launch pad to the next stage of their career. When you look at just how you yourself, the CEO, and everything that you do with Invicta, how important is it personally to know that you're empowering these female athletes, not just maybe as combat sports fighters, but as women and adults?
It's incredibly gratifying professionally and personally to be part of their journeys. And I like to think that here at Invicta, we build a community. We're not just in it for why you're here. I mean, we're going to support you, whether you stay here or you've moved on, you're doing something different, you've retired. I always like to look at it that we're more of a family and a community, and that we lift each other up and support each other. So to be part of that journey and to be instrumental in helping build this platform has been very gratifying on many levels.
To that point, also, you don't just empower the athletes. I think you empower fight fans who may never have gotten into the sport, maybe female fans who want to get into the sport. You bring them to an Invicta show, and it's not the men going rah rah and jumping all around. Not to say the women don't do that when they're getting amped up for a fight, but I think having an Invicta fight not only empowers those in the cage, but those around the cage, whether it be Invicta staff or the fans, young, old, male, female. How much pride do you take in that? That, like, hey, I'm a different outlet for those who may want to get into combat sports, who may want to get into MMA, that you can see some of the best female athletes in mixed martial arts compete here?
That is actually one of my favorite things is, I stand at the door sometimes when people are leaving or just, I spend a lot of time walking around and kind of evaluating, taking in what the crowd is taking in, how they're viewing it. And one of the best things and the most rewarding, let's say, is looking around and seeing people, especially women, young females, but of course I'm not gender biased in that way, but just seeing people feel empowered, and I can hear sometimes like when they're leaving, but yeah, I'm going to get in the gym. This was great. I'm going to start training. I love that, so just hearing that kind of stuff and knowing that those athletes are having an impact on, people and how they feel and opening up their, just the strength and their courage and things like that. I love that.
Now,
It's really awesome, to be
I
honest.
will ask about the event, obviously, but I want to ask about Kansas City. It's basically home, right? And
Yeah.
as a new resident here to Missouri, what is the relationship like between Kansas City and Invicta, and how much do you love just being a part of that KC community?
The truth is Kansas City is a big sports town. And I love how they embrace female sports as well. If you're familiar, we have the new soccer stadium that was built for the female soccer stadium. They call it the number one, or I guess it's the only one in the country, right? So, yeah, just the way that the Midwest embraces the sport and how the fans come out and lobby and support the girls that compete and things like that. That's what I love, and the Midwest is just very friendly, just a lot of friendly people. And that's, it's just home for me.
And we know how the Kansas City crowd is behind you, but what's your message to let's say the CBS Sports crowd, right? Those who will be tuning in for the first time on CBS Sports, what should they know about Invicta FC cards? We'll talk about the event here specifically, but overall, what should they be prepared for when they tune into Invicta on CBS Sports?
I think they should be prepared for a great night of fights, of action, and with some very talented, athletes. I think Invicta, the female athletes always deliver. They've been fighting for a long time for opportunities, so they're very committed to performing at that highest level. So I think the fans can be, look forward to being entertained. And I think that's why people will want to tune in. It's a great show. It's very exciting. And the women are just amazing when it comes to the talent and skill set to watch. They're very exciting. You don't know how many times we walk out, and people are saying, this was much better than watching the men, and I've been in the sport for so long. I've seen all the fights, male, and, I love all fights, as you can imagine, but they're very committed and very connected. And I think that's what sometimes separates them and makes them kind of stand out.
Now, this is our first time ever doing an interview, so there's so much that I want to ask, and I'm trying to put it all together. But one thing that I've got to think, so in doing research for interviews for this podcast or whatever website I'm doing work for, it's so hard to look at a female's resume and her fight record and not see Invicta on it, right? And
Oh,
so how much pride do you take in knowing that whether it's in the UFC or at the time Bellator, wherever it may be, there's so many fighters who are cemented in having Invicta on their resume to their credit and vice versa.
I go back to that same thing about being part of their journey. And it's just exciting to, I see them when they come in, I see how excited they are. I hear about their goals. I hear about the things they want to accomplish. So to watch an athlete, like I said, whether they're here or they're in another organization and still be part of that journey or have had something to do with, where they ended up and what they're doing. But most of all, it's just watching them accomplish the dream. That's the really, really cool part in all of it. It's just they have a dream. And if you can be somewhat part of that and, open a door or create an avenue or a lane for them to travel to achieve that, that's really, what I find is the glory in what I do.
Before I get into the event, I got two more on just Invicta as a whole. One's kind of an off the wall question, but to that point of just being part of journeys, right? Not only have you done so much with fighters, but you have Laura Senko who spent time
Oh
in
yeah.
Invicta, and she is absolutely just trailblazed her way through as a broadcaster. So sometimes it's not just the fighters, right? And when you see Laura thriving and what she's doing with the UFC, how happy are you to see someone like a Laura Senko pave the way for the next woman who wants to be a journalist or a broadcaster commentator for any promotion?
Well, once again, that's what it's all about is,
Yeah.
when I say creating and building that community and that family, it's just building something and helping each other. And it's just a proud moment to be part of anybody's journey when they hit that high mark or that high note. It is just Laura's amazing. She's incredibly talented. I saw that years ago. What separates Laura from a lot is her drive. And I identified that very quickly. So, it's great to watch her because she is, opening doors. And I think that's hugely important for us all to support each other. One of the things I always say to an athlete when, if they're signed here and they move on or something, I'm always like, don't forget us, pay it forward. You don't do it so much for, Invicta itself, but do it for the young athletes that are coming behind you. And I think that's very important, and I love that mentality. And I hope Laura is, sharing that along the way.
I know she's definitely been gracious with her time for so many, broadcasters on this side of the equation. Now, the off the wall question here is when you talk about opportunities and the drive. I was listening to when you first made the announcement that Invicta was back when you were talking to SiriusXM, and a man I have a lot of respect for. Was the first ever coach to ever train me in any type of combat sports. Shannon, are we getting Dean Thomas as a ring boy?
He seriously wants to. And I'm like, Dan, get the abs, you got to bring it. So we're doing a little, a little banner back and forth. I'm razzing him a little bit, but yeah, I think you could see him somewhere in the mix for sure.
Listen, that's worth the price of getting CBS Sports if people don't have it right there. Dean Thomas as a ring boy, that would be fantastic. Now June 28th, you're back. We've been talking about it. Invicta FC 55. Talk to me about this incredible main event you have.
I love this fight. I think this is a great fight. It's a great matchup. Bernardo is the current champ. She's coming in to defend that belt. And as we know, anybody that has the belt, they're not willing to give it up. So I think that she's coming in you know, uh, to prove that she deserves it and why she has it. And then, you certainly don't want to count out Olga. I mean, she's a very seasoned grappler. She's coming off 2 wins, and I think this is going to be a really fun fight, a really good matchup.
Uh,
So I think it'll be a lot of fireworks on this one.
when you come back with a fight of that magnitude, after being away for some time, obviously it's a must see, can't miss event for the fans. What's the schedule for the rest of this year?
So for the rest of the year, we have August 9th will be the next event. We will be announcing that location and that fight card. We are finalizing out the September dates. Then we're back November 6th and December 13th.
Beautiful. So it's all systems go. And how does kind of packing the schedule to end the second half of this year, what does that set you up to do in 2025?
There are a lot of options and a lot of things we're talking about. So I'm excited to kind of travel that road. But right now, we are very focused on delivering the best possible product we can and, developing our relationship with CBS Sports.
I can't wait. I know CBS Sports should be excited. I want to ask this because, in between the time where you were having events, there was a big landscape change in MMA as a whole with
Yeah.
Bellator being purchased by PFL. And in doing some coverage for them, you continuously hear, I wasn't sure where my next opportunity, especially I've heard that a lot with this PFL flyweight tournament. There's so many female fighters going. I wasn't sure where my next opportunity was going to come from. Now that you guys are back, are you relishing in the doors open? If you're there, Shannon I will find you and there will be an opportunity for these females who kind of have almost seemingly been lost looking for fights.
Yeah, I don't like it. I don't look at it like we're back. We were busy, putting together fine tuning the engine, putting everything together to where we're moving towards that direction. But the doors are always open. They've never been closed. I think we continue to sign athletes during that time and start, build our divisions and structure how things were going to lay out. But yeah, I mean, there are a lot of talented athletes out there and the doors are open. I don't know if you realize this, but we did sign Jennifer Maya not long ago. We are definitely on the move and we're excited for what the future holds.
I can't wait. And yes, Jennifer Maya, obviously a huge signing. I've got to ask before I let you go, when you've spent so much time in the sport, and I'm not saying pick one or the other, but kind of putting you on the spot. Do you enjoy kind of getting some veterans that have been around the game, gone to other promotions, and having them come back to Invicta more? Or do you like finding that 1-0, 2-0 fighter and build them through Invicta and then watch them spread their wings and fly? Which do you enjoy more?
That's a really good question. It really is. But I can tell you this, I know this sounds so, like cliche, whatever, but it is a family here. So when you have athletes that rotate back in, they come back, they've been gone, or, whether it's injuries, retirements, whatever, they've been somewhere else or something like that. It's always good to see them and welcome them back. You've built a relationship with them over the years, but it's also extremely exciting to be looking for talent. I love that part as well. There's a lot of talent that's out there and it's fun to scout. It's fun to, you know, be part of their journey as it begins. I love that aspect as well. So I can't really pick one, but I can tell you that there's something great about each. And I enjoy, I just enjoy the process. That's the best way to put it. I may not fight in the cage, but I fight every day outside of the cage to make it better. And I like a good fight. I enjoy the process.
And that's why I enjoy your promotion, because I know you like a good fight. And when you're going through the process, you know how to make good fights, great fights, because of how you go about it. Now, with it being 2024, how much of what an athlete does on a microphone, in an interview, on their social media, outside of just knowing that they are a fighter, but how much of a fighter as a brand do you look at when you're considering signing someone?
No, I'd be lying to sit here and tell you that we never think about that. But is that why we sign them? No, you have to be talented. You have to be able, I mean, first and foremost, you have to be able to compete. Invicta is not an easy place to compete. There is talent here. The great thing about Invicta that I always think is that we match them well. We never throw anybody in the deep end. We give you opponents that are going to help you grow, both grow. I never sacrifice one for the other. So you can be really, really popular, but if you cannot fight, that's not going to do you any good or me. So, I like that's the basis and the foundation really of what I look for is, are they able to compete and where are they at in that process? If I find someone that is incredibly marketable, has a great fan base, they know how to utilize their social, I mean, that's just like, frosting on the cake, right? So, but the real true foundation is that, what their skill set is.
Friday, June 28th, Bernardo versus Ruben, Memorial Hall, Kansas City, live on CBS Sports. I hope I can get there. I would love to take in my first Invicta event and do some coverage for you. And hopefully moving forward, I'd love to really not only welcome you, but welcome the Invicta FC athletes onto this podcast, because I love what you're doing. And I'm not just saying it because you're on the other side of the camera and because you have a whole roster full of athletes who could whoop my ass. But I think you're very, very important to this sport. I think, especially when the landscape changed as monumental as it was earlier this year, I think Invicta FC is a need, not just a want. So I credit you for all that you're doing. I'm so happy that you guys are back. And I hope to, like I said, finally get some coverage on the ground for you guys. It'd be an honor for me to be able to cover your events.
Well, we certainly would love to have you. So, if you can make it, consider yourself invited. So, it's Invicta's important. I always say that Invicta keeps everybody honest in the industry. We kind of watch over and make sure that, we continue to lobby for, that better pay. We keep everybody honest. And I think it's important that when Invicta's not here, there is that hole. And yeah, so it's just great to be able to provide opportunities and make that difference.
I'm all about opportunities. I'm all about storytelling. So I'll happily accept the invite. And on a side note, I'll just say, Dean Thomas, I think I got the invite official before you did. So I'm just going to leave that at that. Dean makes fun of me all the time. So I
Well,
can't.
Dean better be focusing on the abs is what Dean better be working on, you know.
In the past year, if I didn't put on 20 pounds, I would say he could have mine, but I don't think he wants mine anyway. So get
Yeah.
to work, Dean. Shannon, you've been getting to work, and I can't thank you enough for your time and the opportunity to talk to you. This is a bucket list interview checked off on my end. And so I look forward to taking in Invicta events moving forward. And like I said, if I can provide a platform to continue for these women to tell their stories, that's what I'm here for.
Well, I appreciate that. And thank you for taking the time.
Thank you.